Hey everyone, Brett Tremblay. We're back with a Candid Convo, and that means there's no script. It's just me talking with somebody in the industry who has experience in virtual staffing. And today, very excited to have a good friend, just a fun guy all around, and somebody with a really fast growing law firm who has a ton of experience in virtual staffing because he runs an entirely virtual office, and it hasn't always been that way. But here he is today, and I'm going to ask him some questions and see if he will share some insight with us. So Eric Toscano, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to connect with you and chat with you, and happy to talk about my experience with Get Stuffed Up.
Yeah, so tell us where are you located primarily, and then tell us more about your law firm.
So, well, I suppose we don't really have a headquarters anymore, but our home base, as it were, is here in San Francisco. So we're a California law firm. Our reach now, given our current setup, it used to be the San Francisco Bay Area, the greater San Francisco Bay Area, where there's a lot of cities with rent control. But we now represent tenants throughout the state of California. So 40 million-ish people in California, about 45% of them are renters. So we have a market of about 18 million people in the state. Plenty to keep us busy.
Now, you said we don't really have a home base anymore, and that's because you weren't always completely virtual, and now you are. So tell us about that.
When I started this firm, I had a remote legal assistant who I connected with on Upwork, and she's actually still with the firm. She's now a senior paralegal, but I sort of built it as, from the ground up. The foundation of this firm was always the ability to connect with people who weren't in the adjacent office. As we grew, we really focused on building out our in-house team, our local team, having intakes in-house, having a legal assistant in-house, having a paralegal in-house, our non-attorney salesperson in-house, and a few things that are sort of unique to the Bay Area. It's really, at the time, things are different now, but at the time, we were dealing with virtually zero unemployment in the Bay Area. For San Francisco businesses to find qualified individuals, you literally had to, to actually come into the office, you literally had to reach out, people looking to make a 30, 45-minute, hour-long commute from around the surrounding Bay Areas because, everyone's employed in San Francisco and no one can, it's really high rents here, really high cost of living. So people were coming in. So my experience was you had people commuting 2 hours a day, showing up frustrated, frazzled, and kind of not really their best self with a lot of other stuff on their mind. In addition to that, I referenced this before, rents in San Francisco are out of control. Commercial rent space was very, very expensive, and that really affects your bottom line. You have a big overhead. So, the net result of that is, we had a team that was showing up frazzled, spending a lot of their time not focusing on their, recovering or, spending time with their family, winding down, enjoying their life, or focusing on their work, but literally just commuting to and from this office, spending time, spending money. And you had the business, which was spending an exorbitant amount of money on rent. So that's the situation I found myself in, and then enter Get Stuffed Up. But I can continue, or if you have any questions on that.
Well, I think that's, some people decide to start virtually, especially more and more lately. But those of us that have been practicing for 10 years, the thought never crossed my mind to have remote or virtual staff members until basically Get Stuffed Up happened, 2.5 years ago. And so kind of like you, it sounds like the factors that played in were external, a little bit internal, and then it just made sense.
Yeah, that's true. And I think the other factor that a lot of people aren't aware of, it's that there have been major leaps and advancements in technology, software, specifically software catering to the law practice. Like not in the last 6 months, but over the last several years, that has allowed pretty much anything you can do in a regular brick and mortar office to be handled virtually. And in my opinion, a lot better, a lot more effectively, and a lot less expensive. in a lot less expensive manner.
Yeah.
So I think
So
that's another consideration, from practice management software to internal communications to the fact that you can give your team members located anywhere out in the world a branded area code number, telephone number, from your, whatever your jurisdiction is. I mean, the software, the technology exists, and I think lawyers just historically have been slow to grasp that. I think generally as an industry, but it's there now, and those that are enterprising and forward thinking, I think, can really do some amazing things and realize some, you build out, and I think you and I both know this, if you can build a successful firm where you're not worried about the struggle of, maintaining your costs, but you actually have, you can run a profitable, healthy business, your clients benefit because you have everyone laser focused on the services you're delivering to them, and, your team benefits. I mean, I did a presentation on this in January. Your team benefits there. If you can eliminate a 2-hour commute from someone's life, and put them in a space where they're comfortable and happy, and allow them more time to either spend time at home with family, friends, go out, exercise, be healthy, or spend more time working on your business. Those are all wins. I mean, but spending time in a miserable commute doesn't help anyone. Certainly doesn't help your business.
yeah, I couldn't agree more. In fact, our business model largely developed from the fact that in the Philippines, it's a 2-hour commute both ways. And so we were finding people that wanted to work from home, and that's where we started having a competitive advantage. And that spilled over into, of course, now we're in Mexico, Central America, South America, and all of our people work from home. But let's talk about that efficiency, because look,
Okay.
I think people think of big law firms and think of New York, and you get this huge rent, so you have to constantly raise prices, and that you have to push down to your clients, so it just further increases inflation. But your argument is that all of your savings end up benefiting your team and your clients.
Exactly. Let me start with, well, 3 things. I want to talk about that sort of historical, you have to have this beautiful glass office firm. Second, I want to talk about how it, benefits the team, and then how it benefits the clients. And I touched on the team a little bit.
Sure.
So I did a panel, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. It was by a capital funding company. It was great. And I was on a panel with 2 other attorneys. And one of the questions was, how critical do you think, as a consumer firm, there were 2 other plaintiffs' lawyers, how critical do you think having a brick and mortar office is to being a successful law firm? And I was, unsurprisingly, the one who said, I think it's completely irrelevant. I don't think it matters at all. The other 2 attorneys were like, I can't believe it. And of course, people walk in, and one of my esteemed colleagues mentioned, I have artwork in my office, a Western cowboy theme that I think really inspires. Maybe that's true. I personally don't believe that clients really care about the artwork in your office. I think they care about what they came to your law firm to have resolved, and that you get the results historically, and that you can demonstrate to them that you're compassionate, you care about them, and that you can deliver the results they want. And I do agree that perhaps, in some circumstances, having a brick and mortar office with photos can do that. I also think that those benefits are probably offset by the convenience, particularly in the Bay Area or major metropolitan areas, of having to avoid, driving down to an office, finding parking, walking into a building, all this stuff for, maybe 3 hours for a 30-minute consultation with an attorney versus just the 30 minutes to do that. Also, we found that, by doing virtual consultations, we can have branded backgrounds like you're seeing right now. We can have, agendas appearing on a screen share. That's nice. And, look, nothing really ever can replace the human interaction. I'm fully aware of that, but I just don't think it's necessary. And I think, we're continually working to find shortcuts to make this whole process work smoothly and efficiently, build culture. And then it's a work in progress. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the brick and mortar.
Let me ask you this. What have you learned about maybe efficiency, or what are some tips you've picked up? Because we're no longer having the conversation with attorneys on when we're, people are introduced to us about virtual versus non-virtual. The coronavirus, for better or worse, really, and you mentioned that lawyers are slow to adapt, which is absolutely true, but pushed us forward 10 years in terms of how many business owners and attorneys are now saying, hey, working with remote staff or virtual staff is possible. So now it's, well, how do I do it? So maybe 1 or 2 tips you've learned, or some things that you would tell people just getting started.
Well, I would approach technology as the same thing as, you're going to spend a lot of time and money and effort historically as a law firm on investing into a proper office. I think you just take that same approach, but you're investing in a strong, solid, scalable technological foundation. And that really boils down to, I mean, we've gotten to the point now where we used to provide, laptops, and then I realized we're not in the computer hardware business, we're in the law business.
Yeah.
So really it's just about software. People can actually use their own hardware, anywhere in the world. And we're just, making sure we have enough licenses. So actually nuts and bolts technology for us, we're based on, we use Office 365, Microsoft, we use Windows 10 machines, although actually we're now fully Windows agnostic. Some people operate with Mac, some people operate with Windows. It's not really specific because everything's, compatible with both, but we use Office 65 and we've sort of gone all in with Microsoft. So we use Microsoft Teams for all internal communications. And when I say all, I literally mean video conferences, telephone calls, the direct chat has replaced internal email. We literally have a policy of no emails verboten within the team, use Teams. So that's for internal. Externally, for video conferencing, we were using RingCentral Video, but everyone sort of moved to Zoom right now. So everyone on our team has a Zoom address, a Zoom account associated with their work address that they can use for video conferencing externally. So internally it's Teams, externally video conferencing is Zoom, externally telephone calls are RingCentral, and externally written communications are email. I guess you could also use RingCentral for text as well too. So those are just some of the basics. I can provide more information.
Well, no, and I don't want to gloss over them, because that info there can save people, months of heartache just by listening to exactly what you said, because you and I and people that have done this before, we learn and we tinker and things fail. And that's exactly, I've heard a lot of good things about Microsoft Teams. Here at Get Staffed Up, we use Zoho for everything. And we have largely been able to also get away from email. But the key factor there is internally, and you guys, I mean, let's brag for a little bit. You have over 20 employees, right?
Close. We have over 20 team members. We've got 16 full-time team members and other contractors as well too. But yeah, I think our team right now is about 23 team members, 16 full-time.
Okay, so 23 team members that are communicating, and you've been able to get away from email. That is phenomenal, and I haven't heard anyone else say that. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
That's a big thing at my law firm that we stress email management, and I've also done presentations on that. But it's still so hard to get away from. So that's really cool. So Microsoft Teams internally, Zoom externally, RingCentral externally.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well,
and email, for any other written communications. And also RingCentral can sort of encompass, RingCentral is really powerful, calls, texts, and faxes too. People still like faxes. We still communicate via faxes with some firms that need to. RingCentral will do that, and it works like email.
Very cool. I don't remember the last time that we sent a fax. So that's that
We don't
one,
lead with faxes.
yeah, that one definitely needs to go by the wayside. So tell people how they can contact you, because I would almost guarantee everyone knows or has friends in California, and it's going to be a really big issue right now coming up that they're going to need you for.
Yeah, so our law firm is, I would say, go to our website if anyone's interested. So again, I mentioned earlier, we help California tenants forced out of rent control departments get a fresh start. We represent tenants only. And really, at this point, any type of landlord-tenant dispute. We also offer counsel services. Best way to communicate with us is our website. It's tenantlawgroupsf.com. That's SF as in San Francisco. Anyone who's interested can contact our firm for a free case evaluation. Phone number is 415-707-3859. And we also offer, in addition to the free evaluations, there's a lot of free materials on our sites. Videos, downloadable items too. So we just want to make it, be a resource for tenants out there, whether or not they decide to engage with us.
Wow. So there you heard it. Not just a virtual firm, but the decision to go virtual has really sped up the progress of your firm, allowed you to help way more people, employ more people, and make a bigger difference. And that is really cool. Eric, We love working with you and love seeing the growth of your firm and how well you guys are doing. So thanks for jumping on with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you. Love you guys.